What's up, YouTube? Seth back with Lost Legion TCG, here to do our take on a Sky Striker per deck. This deck was obviously meta for a very long time, but at this point in the game, it's relegated to a rogue strategy, which I never thought I'd say about the deck, but it is still super playable. It's still super good. You can still win a lot of games with it. So we'll go ahead and get right into the profile. Pretty standard to start. 3 copies of Sky Striker Ray. Ray was for a very long time the only main deck monster in the game. For Sky Strikers, it's Ray. You use it to make your links. It comes back when your links die. I probably don't have to explain what most of the Sky Striker cards do, because if you played the game from, I think, 2018 until today, they've been a force. To follow up the Rays, we have 2 copies of Rose. This is an additional Sky Striker monster. It's mostly just a name. It does have utility to special itself from the hand. It comes up, but not as often as you think it would. It's mostly another name. We play 3 copies of Gamma Seal. We play the Turtley Boy to deal with mostly Dragoon. Sky Strikers have one heck of a time dealing with that card. Anything that says it can't be targeted, Strikers are going to struggle with a little bit. Gamma Seal gets around that problem. 3 copies of Ash Blossom, the most generic hand trap in the game. Hits the most different things. And 2 copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Ghost Bell is really good right now. It hits pretty much every deck in the game currently. That's at least seeing competitive play. You can switch the hand traps up to whatever your locals or whatever you're playing in, whatever you have. The hand traps are pretty, whatever you have, you can play. That's actually it for the monsters. This is probably a first on the channel, me profiling a deck with less than like 30 monsters in it, but you know, there's a first time for everything. Onto the spells. 3 copies of what I might consider to be the best spell card in the game currently. This card is insane. It's Forbidden Chalice, it's Snatch Steal, it's not once per turn. The card's insane. We follow up Widow Anchor with 3 copies of Shark Cannon. This card is a DD Crow, and it's also, you can revive cards from the grave. So it does come up, that comes up quite a bit to use it to link climb and such. Plus, this format is so grave reliant. Sniping a Yan Yan out of the grave, sniping a Drytron out of the grave, banishing the Natasha or the Ben 10 when they tribute for cost, if you're following the Extravaganza ruling, then you can really interrupt a lot of the main decks. That's it for the 3 of spells. We played 2 copies of Area Zero. Area Zero used to be better than it is now, I think, when you could excavate more striker spells, but the decks become much more of kind of like a grindy control deck at this point, because you just want to out-resource your opponent, and the deck is really good at using its resources and keeping its resources. Next up is 2 copies of Afterburners. Afterburners is really important for the deck now, especially for us. Our locals plays a lot of Drytron, so popping the Vanities Ruler is really good for us. It's also the second effect to pop spells and traps does come up more often than you'd think in a back row format. We play 2 copies of Jamming Waves. I see a lot of people play 1 Jamming Waves. We play 2 because Eldritch is kind of scary. Setting back row is really good right now, especially if you're trying to protect like a Dragoon or something like that. The back row can be scarier than the monsters themselves, so I opted to play 2 Jamming Waves over 1. 1 multi-roll. This card is insane. Any card that says you can't respond to fill in the blank is insane. Multi-roll says all of your Sky Striker spells are spell speed 4 in a sense, and plus you can send your field spell, summon your Ray, whatever. It's just a very versatile card. It recurs your Widow Anchors. It makes it so that you're still playing like 6 copies of Widow Anchor even without Engage. Round out the one-ofs, we play 1 Eagle Booster, 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Hercules Base. Hercules Base is really important for recycling your extra deck monsters, whereas Hornet Drones is a 1-card essentially full combo for the deck, if you want to call it a combo. And Eagle Booster does come up in certain game states. That's it for the Sky Striker spells. On to some generic spell cards we play. We play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. It says draw 2 cards, and you care way too much about your extra deck to play Prosperity or Extravagance. So banishing 10 off the top doesn't matter, because you can just recycle the resources you have and what's left in your deck. As long as you don't banish like all 3 Widow Anchor, you'll be good, but the odds of that happening are pretty low. We play 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. You can play 3 if you want to. I only thought that 2 was necessary, but if you do want to play a 3rd, you can cut the 1 Upstart Goblin and play a 3rd Droplet there. Droplet is a spell that allows you to put more spells in the graveyard, and since we opted to not play the Foolish Burial Goods package here, Droplets is invaluable for the deck to be able to activate a card and then chain your Droplets to send the spell so you get the effect plus an extra spell engrave. It's really versatile, and it's really good going second, and you can just set it going first as another interruption. We play 1 copy of Mystic Mine, which is essentially 2 copies of Mystic Mine with the 1 Terraforming. I opted to play 1 Mystic Mine, 1 Terraforming instead of 2 Mystic Mine, because the Terraforming can search the Area 0 if you need it for that route, or if you just need the mine, you can search it out. We play 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army. Ray and Rose are both warriors. You can search whichever one you need for that exact moment. And then to round out the main deck lineup, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. This deck doesn't really lose that hard to back row, but you can get caught up in like a Mystic Mine situation of your own. You can get caught up with not wanting to deal with like a Rivalry or a Gozen or something that a rogue matchup's playing, and Cosmic solves all your back row issues. That's it for the main board. We're going to go into the extra deck here, which is relatively standard. 3 copies of Kagari. This gives you cards back from your graveyard. 3 copies of Shizuku. Shizuku is your end phase search. It is important to note that both Kagari and Shizuku have attack modification effects, but those barely come up. I don't want to say never, because in simplified game states everything can come up, but they're mostly used for Shizuku to add in the end phase and Kagari to add from grave. 3 Hayate, this card can attack directly. This paired with Mystic Mine is one of the most degenerate things you can do in the game, in my opinion, where they have a full board and you just go, okay, Mystic Mine, Hayate, poke for 15, poke for 15, poke for 15, and just win the game that way. It happens. I'm not proud of it, but I've definitely done it. You have to do what you have to do with a deck like this in the current format to win. And Hayate, when it battles, sends a Sky Striker spell from the deck to the graveyard, and you can then recur that with Kagari. You can just go through all the links independently, although you can only summon them once each turn. 1 copy of Kaina. You can use this to dodge an attack. You can also use Kaina to gain life points for time, although that doesn't happen as often as you'd think. And 1 copy of Zeke. The only Link 2 Sky Striker card, I think Zeke's okay. It's mostly another name, but it does come up occasionally. I don't think the card is like crazy. You don't have to play Zeke, in my opinion. I know some of you will probably get in the comments and tell me I'm stupid and tell me Zeke is the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh card ever printed. I just don't think so. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. You can get caught under There Can Be Only One when you want to cycle through your Link monsters. Luckily, all the links are machine, and all the main deck monsters are warriors. So Machine, Warrior into a Fiend, Phoenix pops it, puts a spell in grave. It's great. One copy of Selene. Selene will help you climb up into your access code talker, which is your win condition. You can drop the Phoenix to play a Hulky Fibrax in the extra deck. You can also drop the Phoenix to play any of the Charmer links if you're seeing a lot of a specific attribute. I would recommend the Wind Charmer link currently, as you can snipe the Romulus from Dragon Link, and you can snipe a Wind Barrier statue or whatever from Tri Brigade. You can also, well, don't do the Wind Barrier statue. That's a bad idea. Go for the Simorgh link. You can also bring back Virtual World cards to Link Climb and just get into your Selene that way. We also play one copy of Ningirsu. This card has been a staple in Sky Striker decks for quite some time now. Ningirsu comes up, it's a Link 3 you can use to clear your extra monster zones. It's a pretty decent body at 25, its effect comes up. And then you have your one copy of Access Code. This is your game ender. You're going to have so many different attributes of Links in Grave that you can pop an insane amount of cards with Access Code Talker and just swing for a ton of damage and then back it up with back row if it's not game. That's it for the extra deck. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave us a like, comment, subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and stay tuned for more deck profiles. Thanks for watching.